I've literally worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and high performance people, and the number one question I get is, what are your daily habits? Now, if you know anything about your habits, this makes sense because your habits create your actions and your actions create your destiny. So if you want to have a great destiny, then you have to have good habits, yet most people fall short in that category. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you have a lot of people taking advice from other people who are not exactly where they should be, or they shouldn't be giving advice in the first place. In my personal opinion, you should really only seek to learn from and emulate those who are where you want to be in multiple areas of their life. For example, a lot of people are following the advice of somebody who, let's say, is a bodybuilder or an ultra marathon runner, and so they're making all the routines around that. So just to be clear, if you're in business or you eventually want to be in business and you want to learn the exact successful habits that I do every single day that made me a millionaire at 25, stay tuned to watch this video. So the first habit and recommendation I have for you is to prioritize sleep. Somehow in the past few years, we got into some kind of hustle culture, which I fell into myself, where if you weren't working like 18 to 20 hours a day, then you just didn't want it bad enough. So when I first started my business, that's exactly what I did. I sacrificed sleep and I literally worked for 18 to 20 hours a day. And it didn't matter that I was working smart because I was working hard. I knew that if I just put in enough hours, I would eventually see success. And in reality, what actually happened was I burnt out very, very quickly. I lost all relationship with my friends and family. I gained about 40 pounds. And on top of all of that, I only generated $3,000 in the first 9 months of business. So obviously I realized that something had to change. And that's also when I learned that running a business was really more of a marathon than a sprint. And I really wanted to be in business for the next 30 to 50 years. And if I was going to do that, I couldn't burn myself out in the first year. So I really started prioritizing my health and, more importantly, my sleep. There are so many studies that show about the power of your sleep and your actual performance or efficiency the next day. There's actually a great book that I just finished reading called Why We Sleep. I recommend it to everybody if you want to check it out. But it goes into massive detail about the studies and the science behind the importance of sleep and how the vast majority of people all around the world are getting like only 30% of the appropriate amount of sleep for them. A lot of people say, oh, I get 8 hours of sleep because I go to bed at 10 and I wake up at 6 a.m. But what you don't realize is that you're not actually sleeping that entire time. And in reality, you could only actually be sleeping for 4 to 6 of those 8 hours. I won't go too much more in depth on sleeping, but I'm just going to rip through a few things that I've done that have really helped me increase the amount of sleep and the quality of sleeping that I'm getting. And number one is obviously having enough of a sleep opportunity window. So making sure I'm in bed by 9 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. Number two is that I keep my house at 65 degrees when I go to bed at nighttime. And I also just bought something called an Uller, which is insanely expensive, but you put it underneath your bed and it cools your actual sheets when you go into bed at nighttime. So that's also at 58 degrees, I think, because, cool air helps you sleep better. On top of that, all of my lights in my house turn red at about, I think, 8:30 p.m. as my brain starts winding down, and that starts signaling to my brain to start producing melatonin, which then starts triggering sleep or the process of starting to sleep. And I don't have any blue light. There's no phones or anything on me after about 8 p.m. And the final really big thing on getting good sleep is I only have 1 cup of coffee in the morning every single day. I used to take a pre-workout at like 4 or 5 p.m. when I went to the gym. But then I started researching and learning that the half-life of caffeine is like 4 to 6 hours, which means within 4 to 6 hours, 50% of the caffeine is still in your body. So it really takes 12 hours for that caffeine to leave your body. And so if you're having pre-workout, which is usually 3 shots of or 3 servings of caffeine at nighttime at like 5 p.m., it literally won't be gone out of your body until you wake up in the morning. So you're not going to have quality sleep that way. I lift really hard and really heavy, and I've been doing it without pre-workout for over 2 years. So yes, if you're a pre-workout fanatic like I used to be, it's going to be scary at first, but after the first few weeks, you actually end up having more energy afterwards. Awesome. So the second thing that has totally transformed my life, and I've actually given it to thousands of my clients that have said the exact same thing, is something that I call one thing time. So here's another book recommendation for you. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller, the guy who created Keller Williams. And the book pretty much talks about how in order to really see progress in your life, you have to figure out what you want to do in 20 years. And then what's the one thing you need to do, let's say in the next 5 years to get to your 20-year mark. Then what's the one thing you need to do every year the next 5 years to get to the 5-year mark? What's the one thing you need to do every month to get to the year mark? And you get the point from there. And so the idea behind it is that most people don't actually do that. They just like go through life like a zombie. And if you're a business owner, you just throw yourselves when you wake up in the morning right into Slack, right into email, right into your team members, right into your clients, without actually taking 1 second and thinking like, what could I be doing today to actually be moving the business forward towards that, 5, 10, 15, 20-year goal? So for me, I literally have time on my calendar from 9 to 12 every single day where I do not check in on my business. I don't check in on my clients. I don't check email. I don't check Slack. I don't talk to any of my friends or family. It's literally usually me in my office, just like this, blinds closed, maybe shooting videos, maybe hiring people, maybe creating, standard operating procedures for my team, maybe just thinking, maybe creating content for my clients, whatever else it is where I'm like, cool, this one thing that I'm doing right now will, I might not see the results immediately, maybe even not for a few weeks, but I know in the next few months, in the next few years, it will have a massive impact on your business. So it's kind of a little tricky because ironically, a lot of us wake up in the morning and we literally just jump straight into business and Slack and emails because that's a form of procrastination. We feel like because we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off, we're getting stuff done. But if you remember what I talked about a second ago about the first 8 months in business, I only made $3,000. It's because I was doing exactly that. I wasn't really focusing on the things that was moving the needle forward in the business. So it's a little bit weird when you first started, but if you can set aside time every single morning for it could be 1 hour. That a lot of my clients, when I give them this advice, literally started at 1 hour every single day where it's like no distractions, nothing, just working on the business. And it becomes so addicting that within usually a month or two, they've either simplified their life or hired and delegated enough for their life that they're able to bring that up to 3, 4, 5 hours. And for me, every Saturday, I literally spend 12 hours working on one thing and I'm fully removed from my business. Also, if you guys are getting value out of this video, please smash the like button and hit subscribe if you want to be entered into a giveaway to get access to my last mastermind recordings that I did in May of this year. We had 220 entrepreneurs there. It was incredible. It's over 18 hours of content and people paid about $5,000 for it. And if you hit subscribe and you comment down below, you'll be entered into the giveaway and I'll announce it in the next video. And you can check the comments right now to see who won the last giveaway. Awesome. So the third successful habit that made me a millionaire at the age of 25 is to delegate everything. Now, when I say delegate, most people are thinking of their business life, right? Hiring virtual assistants, hiring salespeople, hiring operations people, whatever else it is. And I literally run companies where I place fully trained virtual assistants, operations people, tech people for my clients. And so I understand the importance of that, but where almost every single entrepreneur or high performance person overlooks is their personal life. They spend so much time and energy and money removing themselves from like the day-to-day tasks inside their business, yet I still see them going and getting their own gas, going to the grocery store, cooking their own food, cleaning up after their own food as well, which a lot of time will take up more time and energy than the business tasks they were doing in the first place. One of the exercises that I have my clients do in my higher level program is set a timer on your phone to go off every single hour and then write in a journal for 7 days straight what you're doing every single hour. And then at the end, we sit down and look at it together to see where they're wasting time. Ironically enough, as you're probably guessing from this video here, most of the time wasted was not from business tasks, but instead it was things on the personal side. For example, it could be things like doing their own laundry, driving to and from work, cooking food, cleaning food, going out to get food, grocery shopping, going and getting the mail, running errands, getting their car fixed. If you actually think about it, you're probably doing one, if not multiple of those things. And if you did the math of how much time it takes you, both physically and also the time it takes you mentally to even be thinking about it, like, oh, what am I gonna eat for lunch? Okay, I gotta go drive and get it. All right, let me go clean it up. That's literally probably sucking up dozens of hours a week of time that you could be either actually relaxing and enjoying your life or putting it towards the one thing in your business. So how do you get some of your personal time back? Well, the first thing I'd recommend you do is hire a personal assistant or an executive assistant. I have one and she takes care of like 80% of the things that I put on that list a second ago for you. Even if they cost you a few $1,000s every single month, if they can give you back 10 hours a week, don't you think you could be doing something that makes you essentially their salary in just a few days? Also, if you're shopping at grocery stores, please stop. I just don't understand why people do that. We live in the 21st century. You can literally I think we use an app called Instacart where for $25 a month, they'll deliver the groceries to your door for free. All you have to do is tip the driver. So if it costs me like $8 to have them deliver something to my door and I don't have to spend 1 to 2 hours going grocery shopping, like why as a business owner would you not do that? Another really great tip that actually got a lot of my time back is to find a meal prep company in your area. I know we have one in Miami here that is about $12 or $13 a meal. And sure, could you make a meal for 40 cents? Like, I'm sure everyone's going to come in the comments and say, oh, I could make a ramen for 5 cents and I have to save my money. This is not for you. This video is not for you. But, you know, if you want to spend 2 hours saving $10, that's totally fine. But I'd rather spend $10 and make 2 hours of my time back. Awesome. So the fourth successful habit that I do and that I recommend to you guys is that routines create freedom. Okay, so this isn't really much of a habit because it's kind of like Inception, because it's like I'm telling you to create, your habit should be to create a routine, but aren't habits just routines anyway? But you pretty much get what I'm saying here, in the sense that if you create routines and you have solid habits that you follow every single day, it brings freedom to your life. When I talk to a lot of people about routines, they go, oh no, I'm a free spirit. I don't have routines, and I like to wake up in the morning and just sniff the air, and that's going to tell me what I'm going to do for that day. Well, that seems stressful as hell to me, okay? I actually create routines in my life so that I'm able to have freedom. Let me give you an example here. Because I wake up at the same time every single day, I start work at the same time every single day, I do my one thing at the same time every single day, I go to the gym at the same time every single day, I fly a plane at the same time every single day, I can actually create predictability around my life and then schedule, you know, fun or exciting things that I'd like to go do. I mean, even in the past few years since I've had a really strict routine in my life, I've still traveled to dozens of countries and spent months and months abroad, and I go and do fun things all the time, but I have to have routine in my life in order to be able to actually achieve that. I have another YouTube video that you can check out in the description down below on my morning routine and what I do every single morning, and that'll give you a better idea of like how rigid that I keep my life and what are some other things that I'm doing that I'm not talking about in this video here. The fifth habit, or essentially mantra, you should be living your life by every single day is how you do one thing is how you do everything. This is almost like some kind of internal game that I play with my mind, but you guys have to realize that, you know, there's no exceptions in life. There's no just like, oh, let me do this thing one time, or oh, let me take this shortcut here. This won't bleed over into other areas of my life. Literally, like, there is no such thing as business problems. It's just personal problems that bleed over into your business life. And so how you do one thing in any area of your life is how everything in your life is done. A great example of this is like after an incredibly long day of work and I'm just in meetings and I'm just exhausted, I don't want to go to the gym, but I remind myself that, okay, if I don't go to the gym today, like that, how I do one thing, so how I'm skipping the gym, how I'm giving up on that, is that's going to bleed into other things that I'm not going to be doing maybe later on or not going to be doing tomorrow. So I convince myself to go to the gym, or while I'm at the gym, I could be an hour and a half into a workout after an incredibly long day and I'm like, you know, sweating, I'm crying, you know, I'm throwing up because I'm just so tired and like dead at this point. And I'll be like, oh, let me just skip this last set. I'm already in pretty decent shape. Like, you know, no one's going to know if I don't do it. I don't have a personal trainer or anybody to push me. But then it becomes this mental game like, all right, well, are you going to quit? Like, so that's what you're going to do from now on. You're going to be a quitter. That's how you do life. And so I just fucking suck it up and I go right into actually doing the last set or whatever I needed to do. Whether you want to call it karma or like life is a mirror or whatever else it is, I just have learned that, you know, how you do things is how things are done with you. So, you know, if I pay my bills on time, I know my clients are going to pay their bills on time. If I shoot a testimonial for somebody, I know I'm probably going to get a testimonial shot from one of my clients as well. So, you know, just keep that in mind when you're creating these routines and when you're thinking in your head. You know, there's always 2 to 3 seconds when you're about to do something where you're judging it in your head, like, should I do this or should I not do this thing? And just ask yourself, like, you know, or just tell yourself how you do one thing is how you do everything. And hopefully it'll help you get a little bit closer to your goals. Great. So for the last habit here, the thing that I do every single day that has made me a millionaire by the age of 25 is created feedback loops in all areas of my life. If you've been following me for a while, you've of course heard me talk about feedback loops, but in case you're new to the channel here, essentially what a feedback loop is the idea that you think of something that you want to do, then you actually take that action, then you measure the results of that action, and then you adjust, you know, the course accordingly then to take another action. A really simple example of a feedback loop is that, hey, I think I want to go out and have drinks with my friends on a Tuesday night. You go out and have drinks with your friends on a Tuesday night. Then the next morning you're like, oh my God, I've never been so hungover my whole life. I hope I die. You don't get any work done. So then the next Tuesday night, your friends go, hey, you want to come out for drinks tonight? And you say no, right? Because you had that feedback loop from before. So that's a blaringly obvious feedback loop that most people can really recognize, but it's these subtle feedback loops that I've created over the past few years that have gotten me from like 80% efficiency to like 90 to 95% efficiency in my life. Some of the ways that I gather data and document feedback loops in my life are: number one, I create a journal every single day. And in that journal, I write down 3 things that I did really well yesterday and what is one thing that I would have done differently and how would I have done it differently. That forces me to not only congratulate myself for doing those 3 things really well, but also gives me that feedback loop immediately of like, hey, probably shouldn't have had, I don't know, that pizza late at night because then it made me a little bit groggy in the morning. The second feedback loop that I had in my life, I don't necessarily use it anymore, is called Whoop, W-H-O-O-P. It's the same thing as an Oura ring, if you heard that before, but it's essentially something that you put on your wrist, and it literally measures your variable heart rate and other aspects of your health, and it can tell you, what's your readiness score, what's your recovery score, how much strain you have every single day, if you should be working out. And what you'll be able to see from there is, like, for example, a great readiness or, a great recovery score is like 90 to 100 on the scale on your app. But I knew that if I had 1 glass of tequila at nighttime, my readiness score would literally be at like 15 to 20. So you kind of have an idea that like, oh, okay, if I have this drink, or let's say if I, do these drugs, like I'll be a little bit groggy in the morning. But it's when you actually have that feedback loop of real data that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that that's actually causing this much stress on my body. And another example of a great feedback loop, at least in business, is 90-day performance review. So inside of my company, every 90 days, we do a performance review with literally every single team member that we have. And in that performance review, I'm figuring out like, what do they think went really well the past 90 days? What do I think really well? What do they think we need to work on? What do I think we need to work on? What do they think like that myself as a person, as a leader, needs to work on? Then I'll give them the feedback from that as well, and what we're going to do moving forward. So these are all ways that, like, in a totally free and like no stress setting, I have team members that are able to come to me and say, hey, I think you're doing this wrong, or hey, I don't think you're leading correctly this way. And I can make adjustments to my leadership style accordingly. If you are a business owner or a soon-to-be business owner and you want to know exactly how I've kind of used these habits to then scale a multiple 8-figure business in the past 2.5 years, there's a free course in the description down below that you can get access to by just giving us your email. And it'll have literally dozens of modules that walks you through how to start a business, how to scale a business, lead generation techniques, who your first hire should be, and a bunch of other little bonus content that you can get access to by clicking the link down below now. A lot of people message me and tell me that the free course that's in the description of my comments down below is more valuable than the last program they bought for $5,000. So if it's totally free, I recommend you do check it out if you're looking to start a business or if you already have one and you're looking to scale. As usual, if you guys got value out of this video and you want to be entered into the giveaway, please be sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts of this video or what additional videos you want me to shoot. I'll put on the screen here 2 more videos that you should check out on my daily routines and habits that have transformed my life, and I'll see you guys in the next video.